How's it going, everyone? I am Jinsula, and welcome to another Pokemon Go deep dive video. Alright, we just got Chespin Community Day, which means we now have another starter with the move Frenzy Plant. However, Chespin's final evolved form Chestnut is not your average grass type. It has a pretty unique type combination with some really powerful moves that coincide with its typing. So is it actually any good in the Go Battle League? Does it fill any holes that the metas currently have? That's what I'm going to be exploring in this video. So let's roll the intro and get right into it. Okay, Shiny Chestnut finally made its debut into Pokemon Go over the weekend. A lot of players are wondering if this Pokemon would be relevant in any way after getting Frenzy Plant. It may not make any sort of dent in the rating meta, since grass types are currently dominated by Kartana and Mega Sceptile. The crown for the best fighting type is currently being held by Terrakion, and it's not even close. However, when it comes to PvP, Chestnut with Frenzy Plant might actually be the Pokemon that players have been looking for. I mean, just to be clear, it's not going to be meta-defining by any means, but it will certainly be a good pocket pick for certain leagues. To further understand this, let's first go over the details of this Pokemon. Chestnut is a grass and fighting type Pokemon, which means it's going to have a double weakness to flying and regular weaknesses to fire, fairy, ice, poison, and psychic. This is quite an extensive list, but it does have resistances to attacks from dark, electric, grass, ground, rock, and water types. Chestnut also has extremely well-rounded stats. Like, when I say well-rounded, I mean all three of its stats are nearly identical. It has a base attack stat of 201, a base defense stat of 204, and a base stamina stat of 204. Basically, it is a jack of all trades, but master of none. For raid battles, its attack stat is too low, but it does have a decently high defense stat and stamina stat, which will make it somewhat viable for PvP. Speaking of which, its rank 1 IVs for the Great League is going to be 1 attack, 15 defense, and 15 stamina. And for the Ultra League, it is going to be 1 attack, 15 defense, and 14 stamina. Next, let's go over Chestnut's moves. It can come with the fast attack Vine Whip, Smackdown, or Low Kick. In terms of its charge attacks, it can get Frenzy Plant, which is of course the Community Day move that will require an elite charge TM. It can also come with Energy Ball, Superpower, Gyro Ball, and Solar Beam. Without question, Vine Whip is going to be the best choice for its fast attack. Compared to Smackdown and Low Kick, it deals a lot more damage over time and generates energy at a high rate. While Low Kick might be useful, as it still benefits from a same type attack bonus, it just pales in comparison to Vine Whip, which also just so happens to benefit from Stab. You also have to consider that the fighting type in Chestnut's typing shouldn't be the focus. There are always going to be much better fighting type options for any of the 3 leagues in the Go Battle League, so you should treat Chestnut as more of a grass type. Therefore, I will go with Vine Whip, Frenzy Plant, and Superpower as its moves. For its ideal charge attacks, Frenzy Plant, and Superpower, it is pretty self-explanatory. The combo of Vine Whip and Frenzy Plant is insane against opponents that are weak against grass types. Superpower is a notoriously good move as well, but you will only want to use it if they have burned through both of their shields. So with all that said, now we should discuss where Chestnut is going to make an actual impact. With each of the 3 primary leagues of the Go Battle League, I firmly believe that Chestnut is going to shine the most in the Ultra League and Master League. It could potentially be viable in the Great League, but not in the current meta, which is currently flooded with various flying types. The only circumstance where I see Chestnut actually doing good in the Great League would be to hard counter Galarian Stunfisk. You could potentially use Chestnut as an opener so that you can catch out any Stunfisks and cheese your way to victory. However, since Chestnut is so susceptible to Pokemon like Pidgeot, Skarmory, Noctowl, any Fairy type, any Poison type, and any Fire type, I really don't think it is worth using this Pokemon. However, the potential is certainly there. Maybe Chestnut could do well in a specialty cup that is following the Great League restrictions. That is the only possible avenue where this Pokemon will be your number 1. But if we were to consider the Ultra League and Master League, there is a much stronger potential for this Pokemon. In terms of the Ultra League, there are plenty of Pokemon that would be easily countered by Chestnut with these moves. However, you still run the risk of having it hard countered by commonly seen Ultra League Pokemon. Therefore, I just don't know if it will ever be top tier, considering that there are already Pokemon with similar utilities like Virizion that will do what Chestnut does but slightly better. But if we were to talk about the Master League, things change up a little bit. This Pokemon does have the capabilities to handle the Master League's most commonly used Pokemon like Swampert, Excadrill, Garchomp, and Gyarados. However, much like how it is with the Great League and Ultra League, you do run the risk of getting hard countered. So, is this Pokemon worth it? Should you use the Stardust and Candy to have it prepared for the Go Battle League? My short answer to that is maybe no. Unfortunately for this Pokemon, it does get outclassed by most other grass types and especially fighting types that are out there. If you want a grass type powerhouse, Venusaur will likely be a more preferable option. In terms of fighting types, well, I already went into that earlier on in this video. Basically, it's always going to be ranked lower than what's already there. Of course, for raid battles, it will pretty much never be useful. Grass type raid attackers used to be quite rare, but Kartana's release definitely shook things up. I would avoid using this Pokemon for raids, and focus more on getting yourself a high IV Kartana, as it is always going to be the better option. Overall, this Pokemon is basically a niche pick for PvP. It is not going to have the same impact on the Go Battle League that Walrein had, but it's not going to be trash either. In certain situations and certain metas, this Pokemon will dominate so long as the opposing Pokemon are countered hard by it. Thus, I would treat it as more of a collector's item for now. You will inevitably find better options in the current metas, since this Pokemon does get countered pretty much easily by those metas. However, I wouldn't use that fact to completely discredit it. Chestnut does have a pretty unique type combination, with Virizion being the only other Pokemon that has the same combo. And like I said numerous times in this video, Chestnut has the possibility to actually be good in specialty cups. Therefore, you will absolutely not want to ignore this Pokemon. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Leave your thoughts regarding Chestnut down below in the comments, and let's have a great discussion. And if you ended up enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then be sure to check out the links in the description below. For all of my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list, so if you want to interact with me in some way, like with remote raids, then do consider becoming a patron on my Patreon. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'm Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.